You are currently the only person in this conference.
Otieno, good morning. Hello, Otieno, good morning. If you can hear me, you can respond for the public chat. Otieno Achieng. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, can you hear me? Maurice Washira, can you hear me? Good morning. If you can hear me, you can respond by the public chat. Respond, please, so that we can start. Washira, good morning. If you can hear me, you can respond for the public chat so that we can proceed, please. Time is not on our side. Please let us respond so that we can proceed. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, you can say yes. Please, if you can hear me, say yes, so that we can continue. Yes, Maurice. Abatieno Achieng, can you hear me? Abatieno Achieng. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. We are starting in a minute. Ruth, can you hear me? If you can hear me, you can say yes for the public chat. Ruth Njenga, if you can hear me, you can respond for the public chat so that we can proceed. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are almost making to 5. Thank you. Okay, good morning. So I want to take this opportunity to invite you to this conference. So thank you for joining, although we are late by some minutes. So I want to take this opportunity to invite you to our first class of statistics. I know some of you are evening students, whereas some of you are day students. It's my major concern because some of you are going to miss the classes. So that's why I wanted everybody to come on board so that we can discuss this in prod. But anyway, welcome for those who have joined. And my name is Franklin Abuga. I'm a specialist in economics and statistics, and I'm going to take you through the course. And it's my hope that we are going to cooperate throughout the semester, and we are going to be on board until the end of the semester. So I take this opportunity to invite you and welcome you back during these abnormal times, and we can do studies by virtue we are not seeing each other. So in a minute, I'm coming back. Okay, I'm back. So I want to share with you my screen so that we can proceed as a group. And I will tell you the way forward. So okay, if you can hear me still, you can say yes for the public chat. Please. Can see Washira typing. Ruth, can you hear me? Otiena Chiang, can you hear me? Please help me so that we can continue. Can see Otiena typing. Okay, thank you. Okay. I want to tell you that the course is like any other normal course that you did during your first semester. It's a simple course, although it requires you to have calculators, as well as sometimes you will be required to download some videos to follow up, although I will be sharing the videos with you. So being a mathematical course, it is engaging, and sometimes it will require us to go on one-on-one interactions, maybe through the public forum, as well as the big group pattern. So I'm inviting you every Monday, 8 in the morning. Let us be on board so that we can share about the unit. The unit is so simple. Some part it has some theory, some simple calculations that you have done before, like finding the mean, the mode, the median, the variance, the standard deviation. So it is the probability you have done before, the straight line curves, what you have done before. However, we are going to use complex terms. That's what makes the difference. We are going to upgrade from high school to O level. where we are going to discuss other things. So before I say anything, the unit will be more of assignments, and we are going to engage in discussion forums where we are going to do some calculations as well as some definitions. We will be calculating at our side, and then we will be posting our answers to proceed. Also, at the same time, we will be conversing to know the whereabouts of our friends, our sisters, and our brothers elsewhere. At the same time, we'll be discussing to understand where the challenge is arising from. So the unit will be having assignments worthy 10 marks. It will also have cards that will be worthy 30 marks, and then the final exam that will be worthy 60 marks. So through the online platform, we are going to make sure as much as possible we have helped each other to understand this unit. But today, being a theory class, I'm going to discuss theory. I'm going to share theory. But from next week, being mathematical, I'm going to illustrate how we're going to do about it. So to your know-how, we have the class attendance register, which we'll be marking, and it calculates, it adds something to your final grade. So please make sure you be attending the classes because they are so important. And be on board. Make use of the discussion forums. Make sure of the lesson activity because those ones will assign, or they will be part of the assignments that we'll be doing. Assignments will not be necessarily the marks that you do some mark, then I mark for you. No. Attendance calculates something to hit, as well as those lesson activities, the discussion forums, and how we are going to engage in the 3 hours that we have on board. So those are the main key things that I want you to take into account because they will be so important to us by the end of the semester. So I know some of you may be missing classes because we have some issues that may arise which we cannot be able to avoid. Please share with me hurry now so that you can be excused because in our class attendance we have somebody being present, somebody coming in late, and somebody being excused, and we have somebody missing totally. So let me not mark you missing totally while you had something that you had to attend to. So let us go to our first topic, Introduction to Business Statistics. Here we are going to understand we have 4 objectives, 4 main objectives for us. The first objective is to understand the definition of statistics. Then the second objective, in our case, is to understand the scope of statistics. Then we are going to understand the type of data, the sources of data, importance of statistics, limitation of statistics, and the misuse of statistics. So those are the major aspects. Although with the notes that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to share some methods of data collection where we have the experimental and non-experimental forms of sampling where we are going to use in data collection. Although for the course they are not important, but for those who are going to do the project at the end of their course, they will be so important. So under the lesson activity, we will be having our notes, but we will be having lecture 1 notes that will entire catch or that will capture everything. So to start with, I'm going to be so precise to define what is statistics. So statistics majorly entail 4 aspects, whereby we have collection of data, organizing this data, analyzing the data, and interpreting the data. So those are the major 4 components of statistics. We have to collect data, we organize the data, analyze the data, then interpret the data to come up with a meaningful or informative decisions. That is the simplest definition about statistics. So it entails collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting data to come up with informative decisions. So majorly when you are told that the statistics is so important to you, when you're going to do your project, you're going to collect data. You have to collect that data in a manner that you put it, somebody can understand what you wanted to do. Then you are going to interpret it using either the software such as Stata, SPSS, eViews. Then after using those, you are going to interpret your finding. So you are going to interpret your finding. You have data initially. You are maybe comparing the fall of maybe Everready. Then you have collected the data, what people thought about led to the fall of Everready. But now with that data, you have to make a meaning out of it. So you have to analyze the data, then you are going to interpret it. Maybe you say Everready fall because of poor management. Because people will be giving you data, it was because of poor management, competition, many things. So you are going to make an informative decision after analyzing the data you have collected. Then the scope of statistics, when you talk about the scope, it's like the branch of statistics. So we have two types of statistics. We have inferential statistics and descriptive statistics. When you talk about inferential statistics, it's whereby you take part of the population. And here, when we mean about the population, is all items of interest. So you take part of the population to be a representative of the population. Maybe I can take the three of you on board to be a representative of the class of statistics. Also, when we talk about descriptive statistics, is whereby we use the entire group, where we are going to make summaries, we are going to organize, we summarize, and present data in an informative way. So for this, when we talk about descriptive, we are going to organize, summarize, and present data in an informative way. So you can collect a lot of data. Then here, when you're talking about summarizing it, we are going to put it down in a way that such that you're going to have the mean, you're going to have the standard deviation, you're going to have the averages, the minimum and the maximum. So in most cases, before you do any analysis of the data, you're going to do something called descriptive statistics, whereby you see which are the outliers. Sometimes you may find the mean to be 10, while you have somebody who scored 90. So the 90 is an outlier. So that's when you talk about the descriptive statistics. You organize the data, you summarize it and present it in an informative way. Somebody can see the maximum and the minimum. Somebody can see the standard deviation, as well as somebody can see the mean. So we have the two types of statistics. We don't have any other type of statistics for education purposes. So for education purposes, we have the two types of statistics: descriptive, whereby you organize, summarize, and present the data in an informative way. While in financial statistics, we are talking about we're going to use part of the population as a representative. And here we have to understand some terminologies. When you talk about terms such as population, and when we talk about population here, we mean it is the entire set of individuals of interest. So if you want to analyze about CTech University, the population of CTech University, you take every individual. Then we talk about ensemble. Ensemble, this is a part of the population of interest. So for example, I'm talking about CTech University, but now I'm talking about the students taking business statistics. So business statistics students are just a sample of the population of CTech University. Then we can talk about, in simple terms, we can talk about sources of data, because data is so important to us. We have two types of sources of data, and sources are brought about due to the collection mechanism that is going to be applied. So the sources of data here we are talking about, we have primary source and secondary source of data, whereby the primary source of data is the data that is collected directly from the field. You are the first person to collect that kind of data. For example, I can come on board and ask you, like I can ask Morris, what is your age? You can respond by the public chat. Atieno, you can respond by the public chat. What's your age? Ruth, what's your age? I'm collecting data. I can see Morris. Otieno, come on. Ruth, come on. Somebody that's right anyway. Let's go on board. We are missing Otieno's age. So in that case, when you're talking about I've collected, I can say this is the primary data. I've collected your age. And I can like come on board and again ask another simple question. For the public chat, you can see me asking a question. What is your favorite game? What's your favorite game? Come on board. What's your favorite game? Washira? For me, I've responded. And come on board. Your favorite game? Ruth, I can see football. Okay, Washira, come on board. Otieno, come on board so that you can get. So that is the way somebody collects primary data. You just go on board, you interview people, you can observe. At the same time, you can do experiments and see a difference in people. Washira movies. That's great. So for the primary data, this is the way we go. Somebody can do for you an interview, somebody can observe you, somebody can go to the laboratory and collect, somebody can send you a questionnaire so that you feel. So that is the type of primary data. But for secondary data, it's like, let me try to find out about, for secondary data, this is the data that was already collected by somebody and it was already documented. So in your case, you are going to use data that already exists in maybe journal papers, in magazines, in conference papers, in journal articles, in textbook. So for example, somebody can ask you about something like when Kenya attained independence. You were not there, but because you have read through the journal papers, the journal books, the documented materials, I can ask you, when did Kenya attain independence? We can respond. Mwenye anajua tuambie, Kenya ilipata independence mwaka gani? When did Kenya attain independence? Me, I don't know. 1963 Washira. Washira 1963. Okay. But we were not there in 1963, but we have found that being documented in books, in magazines, in conference papers. So the type of data which you find already existing in some form, that is what we refer to as the secondary source of data. So when you are going to do your projects, sometimes it is advisable to use secondary data, and sometimes it's advisable to use primary data. When you are coming up with a policy implementation, it is advisable you use primary source of data. But when you are doing an inquiry about something, it's good you use the secondary source of data. So that's the two types of sources of data. Then we can talk about another thing. We can talk about types of data. So when you talk about types of data is classified into two. We have quantitative and qualitative data. When you talk about qualitative, Felisa, I can see you. You can say hi to us for the public chat. So when you talk about qualitative and quantitative data, these are two types of data. When you're talking about the two types of data, qualitative and quantitative. When you talk about qualitative refers to use of words, use of attributes, use of characteristics. So like somebody can say you are brilliant, that is qualitative. Somebody can tell you you are smart, that's qualitative. Something that you cannot give 1, 2, 3. Like I can say somebody's a female, somebody's a male. You cannot assign a number to that. So that's when you talk about qualitative. Qualitative is all about words, attributes. And when you talk about attributes are like characteristics, somebody's individual characteristics. Also, when you talk about qualitative can be divided into two. We have dichotomic and we have what we refer to as polynomial. When we talk about dichotomic, is where we have two options, like yes, no. And when we talk about polynomial, we talk about more than two options. Somebody can tell you, you are worse, you are worst, you are better, you are the best. So you have more than two options for polynomial. But for dichotomic, you have two, yes, no, male, female. So such are the types of qualitative data. When we talk about quantitative data, here we talk about numbers. They have numeric values, and in that case, we can assign 1, 2, 3, up to 10. But under the we have the two types of quantitative, we have discrete and we have continuous. When we talk about discrete, we talk about they take finite numbers such as 1 and 2, 3, 4, 10, 100. That is finite. When you talk about continuous, they take numbers within a range and they take infinite. We can take about 1 and 2. We talk about something like 1.11, 1.21. So that's when we are talking about infinite and we are talking about continuous data. In most cases, continuous data is applied in kgs, it's applied in weight, height. Like we say somebody is 1.7 meters. Somebody weighs maybe 53.3 kg. So that is when we talk about continuous. But for discrete, we say somebody then 100 meters. I need 1 meter distance. I need maybe 1 student. You cannot divide students. You say I need 1 student. I need 2 students. I need 3 students. So those are the two types of data. After the types of data, we have the scales. We have types of scales, measurement scales that we meet often. We have what we refer to as the nominal scale, the ordinal scale, the interval, and the ratio scale. When you talk about the nominal scale is whereby you talk about something like gender. You cannot assign a rank to any gender, but you can say these are male, these are female. You can differentiate two things, but you cannot rank them. That is for the nominal scale. But when you talk about the ordinal scale, you can rank them. You can say somebody is smart, somebody is brilliant, and somebody is best. You can maybe say somebody who is being smart to be number 1, somebody who is brilliant to be number 2, somebody who is maybe best to be number 3. So you can assign them with a rank. You can give them 1, 2, 3. You can rank them. You can say this normally happens when you're using data that, for example, I can ask you, okay, I have a question for you at the public chat. Do you enjoy the COVID-19 holiday? Do you enjoy? So I'm going to give you options. The first option, very much. We have the second option, much. The third option we have something uncertain. Then I can give the fourth option, no. So we have the 4 options. So you can pick out of the 4 options. You give me, I know everybody has a different criteria of enjoying the holiday. So I'm asking a simple question. Do you enjoy the COVID-19 holiday? So by the public chat, you can give me your response. We have very much, uncertain, and no. So for me, I'm going to say very much to be ranked maybe number 4, much to be number 3, uncertain to be number 2, and no to be number 1. Please respond. I'm waiting to see your response. Felisa, you're not enjoying this holiday and the way people are enjoying. Come on. So people are not enjoying the holiday. So that's what normally happens. So when you have more than two options, we talk about that being polynomial type of quantity, that being type. It is a type of polynomial, and that in most cases we are talking about being under the ordinal scale. So you can rank them. They are polynomial under the qualitative data, and they are under the ordinal scale. You can rank them from 1 up to 4. We have what we refer to as the interval scale. The interval scale is mostly applied in engineering, and in that case, you are having, like, we can talk about your score. Students score between 0 and 100. So you are in between the range. So when you talk about the cut, for example, the cut is going to be from 0 to 30. So you have to be within that range. You cannot go over that range. And when you talk about the ratio, is whereby you take something over the total. Like we can talk about the student scored 5 of the cut out of 10. So the student scored a half. That's when you talk about the ratio scale. So those are the common types of scale that you're going to meet on the way. So sometimes somebody can twist around and give you some data, then ask you whether that is the ordinal, nominal, interval, or ratio scale. So hope you will be conversant with that. So the importance of statistics. Statistics is so important to us. It helps us in planning operations. Like when you talk about this case, we are talking about the COVID-19 era, whereby the government is saying that, okay, we are going to use a certain amount of money to maybe we give some people maybe protective equipment. We are using this to give some people food. However, sometimes we cannot understand how some of the money is used, but we can say about it is used in planning. So like today, I can say, like, you are planning, you already planned that you had a class this morning. So you already had that in mind that, okay, I wake up at this time, I do this. By this time when the class starts, I will be on board. So it is so important in planning. Number two, it is so important in forecasting. We can use the pattern. We have known since we were born that during the April, May, we have the wrong rains. So I can anticipate that next year, during the May period, we will be having wrong rains because already there's a trend that has been evaluated before that in each year we have wrong rains in April. So you can forecast and say that in April we'll be having much rain. And also when you are doing a business, you maybe for example, you realize that maybe last year, April, you sold much of your stock. Then in December, you sold the least of your stock. So you will be anticipating that when it will come to December, I am likely to sell less as compared to what I'm doing and how I'm performing in maybe September. So it helps you in forecasting and planning what you're going to do. Also, it is so important in control. It helps us not to go overboard. Like somebody can tell you, like for me, I paid this to achieve something. So when you go to the market, already you have the information that maybe the price of bread is 50 bob. So you cannot go overboard that 50 bob. But that doesn't necessarily apply to price, but it applies to these things of the government project, whereby you are told that the Thika road costed maybe 20 billion. And then somebody wants to build the same size of road, maybe from Nairobi to Nakuru. You should not go over 20 billion. So that is how it enables us to control. So in most cases, it enables us to control the waste of use of materials. Okay. So we have the three importance of statistics: planning, forecasting, and control. However, we have number 4 that is so important to us. It is used to justify uncertainties. When you have a question what you don't understand, you have to go and use statistics to come up to order to satisfy what you want. However, it faces some limitations. And the limitations is whereby some concepts in statistics can never be measured. You can never measure some concepts in statistics. That's one. Number two, statistics uses averages. It doesn't use individual data. So when you use averages, some individuals are going to be left out. So sometimes because, number three, sometimes because you are required to go to the field to collect data, sometimes because somebody is not watching you, or somebody who is going to give you the response is not being followed up, sometimes you will come up with defective or biased information. Like sometimes, I know we used to do chemistry in the laboratory, and when you realize that your answer is so huge, you try as much as possible to try to harmonize your answer using maybe your friend. You're asking, okay, what is your titration value? Somebody is telling you 23 and you have 47. So you try to come closer. You're going to fix maybe with 21, 25 as much as possible. So number four, statistics is not accurate. It is not a mathematics, not accounts. So it is not accurate. It is not 100% accurate. And sometimes what statistics is used to compare. Some days there may be no causal relationship between what you are trying to compare. For example, somebody can come up and say, I want to see why COVID-19 has led to close of schools. They are not related in any way, but you are going to try as much as possible to fix using statistics. You are going to say maybe COVID-19 was spreading too fast, so that is also another limitation of statistics. So we can talk about the misuse of statistics. Statistics is often misused, like any field, it's often misused. Number one, where statistics is going to be misused is whereby the source of that information is not given. You are telling me that you have information, but you cannot tell me where you found that information from. So that's why most of the cases, when you go to anywhere, you'll be told, you have this information. Where did you get the information from? That's number one. Number two, sometimes you have defective data. You are the one going to the field and you realize that, yes, as much as I want to complete my paper, I am not on time. So you just look at the trend of what you have been correcting, then you maybe fix the final questionnaire so that to make the tally. So defective data. Also, sometimes you may be asking me, what's your salary? I can ask, Felisa, what's your salary? You may not answer that. Washira, what's your salary? You may not answer that. Otien, what's your salary? You may tell me, I earn something like between 10 and 40,000. So, but you cannot say the actual because of the security purpose. So that's where we find all the defective data arises from. There's also whereby we have number three, an representative sample. When you are doing any statistic analysis, you are required to have a sample of minimum or at least 30 observations. But when you come up with 20 observations, sometimes it's accepted. But when you talk about unrepresentative data, is whereby the data you have or the observations you have cannot make 30% of the entire field. Like I can say I used 20 students as a representative of 1,000 students. That is an representative sample. That sample is too small to be a representative of the characteristics of 1,000 students. Also, we can talk about another case. It's whereby we make unfair comparisons. Like this normally happens when we used to be in high school and primary, where we used to be compared with our relatives. Maybe you scored your good mark and you were number one from your school, then you go home, then your parents like, or your guardian is like, how can you score this mark while your relative is in a better school scored something like this? You are being compared with somebody else who is maybe given other control conditions. So that was unfair comparison that used to happen. So somebody can also decide to start compare like, okay, the performance of Kenya economy and with respect to the performance of maybe let us say German economy. Germany is already a developed country compared to Kenya, which is maybe a third world country. So you cannot compare the development economy of the two countries. So that will be unfair comparison. In case when you're comparing Kenya, compare Kenya with a country like Ethiopia, compare Kenya with a country like Argentina, the developing countries, or Kenya with Mexico. Then we can talk about somebody giving unwanted conclusions. Somebody is analyzing the performance of Equity Bank in Kenya, but when you conclude, you say KCB Bank has employed more workers as compared to Equity Bank. Surely that's how we are very related. You are doing the performance of Equity Bank, but here you are concluding saying about KCB Bank. So you are giving us unwanted conclusion. Also, in statistics, we have correlation analysis. And when you are doing analysis, that's why we have a topic under the unit we talk about correlation analysis. So we are going to talk about that misuse when we get to that point. Okay, good. So I want to take questions from you. I want to take questions from you. I think all your mics are on, and I want to hear your voices. So I want to start with Thing. Please say something. Please say something. Your mic is unmuted. You can't speak. Wallace, can you speak? And to hear any question about up to where we are, because I'm going to open another forum. But say something. Ruth, say something. I want to hear something about statistics up to the point where we are. Somebody can speak. Your mics are free. You can say something. And it's going to be compulsory. I'll speak now. I can see. Oh, Spora, you are late, but welcome to our forum. Good morning. You can say hi to us via the public chat. Washira, say something, man. Atieno, I want to see you saying something. Ruth, say something. Say something, or I say something from my side. You want me to say something from my side, you can say yes for the public chat so that I can ask what I want to ask. Spora, you are saying something. Say. Spora, what are you saying? Spora, please. Good morning, Spora. Okay, whatever she's saying, I cannot hear that. So there are some people who are not on board. Where is Ruth? Where is Otieno? And where is Washira? Okay. Felisa, I heard about you. I was asking about you. You cannot attend. Felisa, I heard you were talking about you are an evening student, okay? There are people who are not on board. Ruth, oh, you're not an evening student, okay? There's somebody who gave me a text. Ruth, Otieno, say something. These people are not on board. So this is what we do after this. Otieno, I can see you typing. Washira, where are you? And where is Ruth? Spora. So this is what we're going to do. We kind of have several things. You can ask anything before we proceed. Anything. Be free. Otieno, be free. So this is how we will proceed with this unit. The unit is so simple, but it wants us to be engaged. It wants us to be, as much as possible, to try to be reading books. Because if we cannot read books, we are going to find the hardest time on our way. So the best thing I'm requesting you guys, read books. As much as possible, read books. I'm going to find some PDF books to share with you. That's number one. Number two, the unit is so interesting for the maths, for the mathematics aspect, because I know mathematics is the sum of numbers, and we use mathematics to enable us count. So this is what I want you guys to do. Every unit or every topic with you, I will be sharing the lecture notes. Number one, that's the lecture notes. Since this will being the honorary theory part of the topic, I shared the lecture audio. Number three, I create something, an activity called a lesson activity, whereby I will be sharing more notes and I will be giving a question at the end of that activity. So it is a must and a compulsory thing that everybody should try to attempt, because those activities, the lesson activity is so important to us than anything, because at the end of that activity, I'm going to realize whether you understood or you never understood. Okay, number three, during our class discussions, we will be having what we call the forum and the chats. Like after this session, I'm going to create a forum. And in that forum, we are going to talk about three things. We are going to discuss things we have shared, things that I've talked to you, things that I've talked about statistics. So I want you, as I prepare that, take at least 10 minutes and try to look into the notes, peruse through the notes, the lecture notes. Just peruse through the notes. Don't read through the notes. I want everybody to be on board, because I will be taking the attendance register at the end of the class. So like we started, we were 5, now we are 6. So I have the attendance for the 6 who started the class, who were in the 5 who were, the 4 who were in class. So like for Sporus, he came in late. So I understand that. But I need you to come back. We have a forum activity where we are going to discuss more about this topic. So I'm giving you at least 5 minutes and at most 10 minutes. So by 9:35, I'm creating that activity. Come back and join me in the forum. I'm going to name the forum Class 1 Forum. It's going to be named Class 1 Forum. I'm going to lead the discussion. So for those of you, we can now quit, or we can now log out of the peek through pattern. Then we can have the forum where we are going to discuss about this topic. Then I'm going to show you the way forward from the forum, what next. So I hope that everybody is on board. Ruth, are you on board? Washira, are you on board? Otieno, are you on board? Cora, are you on board? Separating, are you on board? So I'm going to, okay, I'm going to, like, You can log out, but me, I'm not going to log out from this forum, but I'm going to stop the recording. But we are going to move to the next activity that's going to be the forum. But for the 10 minutes of me preparing the forum, you can go through, peruse through the notes. The lecture, they are indicated in lecture 1. So peruse through the notes so that we can go to the forum, we can have a simple discussion. So hope you come back on board. So I'll be waiting you.